Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the EV portion. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Now, this does not look like an AI picture in our background.
What do we have here? It looks like a odd-looking truck. Is that what that is?
It sure does. It sure does. Unpainted and everything.
Well, the theme, of course, today is we're going to talk about the Tesla Cybertruck and some of the early reports regarding finish, and we'll have a lot of information for you there. Have some good news, too. There's a Cybertruck in town right now.
Okay.
And an influencer, apparently, and one of our other influencers is arranging to have him bring it here to Gruber Motor Company. And if everything works out, we may actually have him on a podcast or launch a custom podcast just for that truck being here.
Oh, that will be a lot of fun. I look forward to that.
It'll be fun seeing that in amongst the first-generation Teslas, all of the Tesla Roadsters clustering around a Tesla Cybertruck.
That will be a lot of fun. Now, speaking of first generation, you've got other cars that are first gen as well that we wanted to talk about.
We do, yes. In fact, if you can pop up a picture, Jesse, it is called 2024-02. That's code for old Ferrari. Many years ago, we go to Europe, my wife and I, probably every 2 to 3 years until COVID hit. And by the way, we have an Instagram, Schuster Thomas, hello from Germany, Herr Gruber. Well, thank you for joining us. We're just talking about Germany, actually. There is a auto museum. There are a lot of them, of course, in Germany, but one outside of Munich that my brother took me to. And I took this picture well before I was into electric vehicles. This is an early Ferrari. And my caption on this, when I posted it in very early on, was one of Enzo's first creations in a European car museum. And notice the Ferrari red and the black accents and the tan leather seats inside, which are design elements that Ferrari definitely stayed with.
That's right. He sure did. And I've, in 2001, traveled with a family to Italy. That is one of the most Italian cars designs. It just screams Italy design.
It does indeed, yes. What is unique about this was I found it to be possibly the inspiration for the Cybertruck. Take a look at that thing.
Oh, yes, it might be.
It was Enzo's first version of Cybertruck, and it's entirely possible that Franz von Holzhausen and team were aware of this car and decided, why have a rounded, type vehicle? Let's do a wedge-shaped something, and let's revolutionize the way that pickup trucks look.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. And it's, this one's obviously not quite as sporty as some of the more current models.
No, not at all. By the way, another oddity is we usually travel outside of Bavaria, where my brother lives, Rosenheim. And it's either Switzerland or Austria or northern Italy and France. We were in France in the Bordeaux region this last trip. But when we were in Italy, I was expecting Ferraris everywhere, and they're not. They're just not daily drivers, And I think the entire time we were there, I saw one Boxer, and that was it, Ferrari Boxer.
Wow.
Which is a V12, and they only built like 400 or 500 of them. But,
okay, sure.
Yeah, it's not what you think. It's not, you're not going to see a bunch of Lamborghinis and Ferraris in Italy, unless, of course, you're in Rome and or near the casinos or someplace where the rich and wealthy congregate.
I guess it's almost like seeing, your early style Teslas when it was 2014, it was a thing to see a Tesla Model S.
Yeah, very much so.
And you would not see the Model S's unless you were here in Phoenix, you were in the Biltmore area or other high-end areas of town.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we've got people chiming in. Instagram, KBP3048 says, hi, welcome, thanks for joining us. YouTube, Seth Love is back. Nice morning, guys, from California.
Good morning, Seth. Hope you're keeping dry.
Yeah. TikTok, Carbu, he says, impressive work by Gruber Motor Company in restoring Tesla Roadsters. Yes, we are very proud of that, and thank you. And they keep coming in, and they keep on getting fixed and looking brand new when they leave. In fact, I got a picture later on. Oh, that reminds me. At 11 o'clock, in an hour, we're going to switch over to the Tesla Roadster podcast. And this is one that you may want to see because we actually have some new information now about the Chinese Roadsters. And because of information released, it looks like we can talk about them again.
Yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to it. We're gonna, some of it'll be a restatement of other information we've disclosed in the past, but we have a little bit more freedom to talk about them and the buyer and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Lots of news, yes. YouTube, Bernard Homan says, Hola desde Toluca, Mexico. Hello from Toluca, Mexico.
Good morning, Bernard. And I think he's been on the show and commented in the past as well. Thank you guys as well for telling us where you're coming from.
YouTube, PYGKLB, another regular. Good morning. Possible snow here in Oregon Coast Range. One of our Facebook contacts in the Roadster Owners group posted a picture of a Arctic white Tesla Roadster with snow on it up in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle.
Oh, wow. And Seattle doesn't get snow that often either. So that's pretty impressive.
YouTube, Milan Alempikicevic, he says, hello from Serbia. Free supercharging country for all Tesla cars.
I didn't know that. Well, hello and welcome. PYGKLB on YouTube says, I suspect the design was in part from Back to the Future.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly. And then on Instagram, Flavio Pepe. Hello from Portugal. How'd you like my pronunciation?
Oh, that was excellent, actually. I thought you were stuttering there for a moment, but it was good. It was perfect. We hope we didn't butcher that too badly, Flavio. But thank you for joining us from all the way from Portugal. This May, by the way, Portugal is participating in the Tesla takeover in Austria, in Flachau, Austria, just outside of Salzburg. And I will be there, so any of you from Portugal that are Tesla faithful would love to meet you and see you there.
Definitely. And now for our Instagram followers, yes, you're seeing just a green screen still. We're trying to work through the technical issues that are preventing you from seeing the full pictures.
And we are working on it, yes. Got a news item here. There's a electric boat. It's called an Arc Sports. Or Arc Sport, the most advanced wake boat to hit the water, they claim. This little boat, it almost looks like a wave runner, but, I guess it's got a top on it, so it does look like a boat. 570 horsepower, 226 kWh of battery capacity, and 2 times the torque of most premium wake boats. The Arc Sport, they say, is a new wave of performance. Deliveries begin this year. And on average, this Arc Sport wake boat should support 4 to 6 hours of active usage time. A level 2 charger will get you full charge overnight, like at home. But you can charge to 80% in as little as 45 minutes at a level 3 fast charger.
I love the concept here. I think it's a wonderful thing for a couple of reasons. First, boat fueling stations are going to be like EV stations on land. They're not very frequent. You have to plan your trip around the refueling station. That means range anxiety is not going to be the kind of problem with boat owners that it is with car owners.
Right.
Because where you have boat refueling stations, you'll probably have electricity available as well. And yes, this is a higher end boat. This is a $250,000 boat, so it's not cheap.
And what I like about this is we have few lakes here in the state of Arizona.
Right.
Saguaro, Pleasant, And since there's not that much water, at one point the per capita boat ownership in Arizona was the highest in the country. I don't know if that's still the case. But everybody converges on these lakes.
Yes.
And of course, it's all ice engine type boats. So you really don't need sunscreen. You go take a swim, you come out with an oil slick on your body, and you just rub that around a bit, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And yet this boat, even though it is fairly expensive, it's in line in terms of features and capabilities with the ice boats that are equivalent to it.
Really?
So the ice boat equivalents all run in the same 250 to 300,000 range that this boat runs. So you're not going to have that big price differential between this and the higher end wake boats.
Sure.
I'm kind of curious how this is going to change boats and their designs, because you have a battery, so you're going to have weight and you're going to have constant weight. Where I've always owned bass boats. I would have to balance my boat according to the weight of my fishing tackle, where I put my batteries, and where my gasoline was located on the boat. Here, you have a constant weight. So I wonder if you're going to see some different designs come out in the boating industry to offset the weight of the batteries.
That would be interesting.
That's a really interesting take, Aaron, and I think they will have, and I think that just like the electric vehicles having the battery across the bottom of the vehicle, which helps to stabilize the weight front to back, you're going to see that for the boats as well. And so it might be that it's less of an issue where you put your tackle or where you have people sit and stuff like that than it would be otherwise.
Go ahead, Cass.
I'm now more interested in how it just drives. Like, I see the video, yeah, it makes sense, but my grandpa had a boat. So I grew up riding his speedboat all the time. So his engine was in the back like all of the other ones. And so if you take off, the nose goes up, right? So
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
if
called
you
a hole shot.
a whole shot.
Yeah, so the hole comes up and then it planes out
yeah.
like that. So it's a whole shot. And usually that's why a lot of fuel tanks are at the back, because you want your back end to stay down because you don't want the prop to come out.
Right.
And then, and it cap, I forgot what it's, there's a word terms when it blows out. It gets too much air.
So how does that end up translating to like electric? Like in my brain, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think you're going to have the weight more towards the transom, so more towards the back end to keep the back of the boat, lower in the water. If you look at a boat, they usually sit nose high. They don't. It's very rare that they sit, very flat. It's usually a little bit tilted. So I'm thinking the weight's going to have to be over there. But the thing is, though, is that can you put more weight in the front then? Can you put more weight towards the middle? I that's going to be the interesting part with this.
And where did they put the battery? And then you notice that little piece of roof section that could become solar in the future, where it's actually charging the boat. And if Tesla continues to do what they're doing, maybe boats will go away. The Cybertruck is allegedly able to traverse on water for short distances.
Well, and BYD has a vehicle that's supposed to be able to traverse water for short distances as well.
Right. Cool new concepts. But anyway, we thought we'd share that with you because it looks like electrification is going into other types of transportation. And we've got a comment here from Amy Wu. She says, uncanny how quiet your guys' boat is. Also easy to spot in the water with a distinctive design. Cool.
I love that comment too, because if you think about it, if a boat, Aaron and Cass, you guys will both know, if you're in the marina and you hear these boats, you're hearing the big engine, thunk, 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 and you don't hear the boat at all except for the engine. Because it's not like you have tires and road noise and all that. That boat just slips through the water. So now with an electric boat, what do you hear? Do you hear anything, or is the boat just moving?
It was silence. Yeah.
With total silence.
I wonder if you can hear the waves of the boat, because if you think about it, the engine is loud enough that it's covering up the wave of the boat, right?
Yeah.
The waves that the boats are making. So would it just sound like the waves from the water, from the boat that's making the waves? Like, would it just sound like water and not engine?
Yeah, because they have electric trolling motors. Like, so at Arrowhead Lakes, we had a house out there, and so we had the pontoons, and you can get that up a little bit. There is a speed limit, but we always tried to test that. But you could still hear, the pontoons cutting through the water, and you can hear that rushing, water sound. Really, I think this is a huge. I think this is going to be huge for pollution on the lakes.
Oh, yeah.
So when you go into Humbug on Lake Pleasant, there's Party Cove, which is Humbug Cove, and they all stack up and they party, and they'll have rows of boats just linked together. But the problem, though, is that if you're running, big stereo systems or any other electronics, every once in a while you're going to have to turn on your boat and have that engine run to make sure you're not draining your batteries, or else have the proper setup. Where here, you can have your boat running, and you're not polluting anything. That means you're not drinking and getting sick off of, all the pollutions and smells and stuff. I mean, there's been deaths out at Lake Pleasant where somebody's hanging around an outboard engine, takes a deep breath, dives in, and they don't have as much oxygen in their lungs that they think, and next thing you know, they inhale water and they drown.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm glad we have so many boating experts here today. This is
I am
refreshing.
too.
By the way, we make trolling motor batteries. Our 12-volt, 35-amp-hour batteries at Gruber Power Services is
Yeah.
a popular adaptation for fishermen that use those. And the other story I have for you is years ago, we took a boat ride on a lake in Austria. It was called Königssee, King's Lake.
Yeah.
And the Germans are very meticulous about not polluting those type of waterways. I mean, you're nestled in the Alps, pristine forests on both sides going up to snow-peaked mountains, right? Crystal clear water. They had an electric tourist boat, which we took to the other side of the lake. And it was perfectly still. All of us sitting in that boat, we could have conversation. We heard the birds, all of that. And so those electric boats definitely are different than the ice boats.
Definitely. I do wonder too, and Aaron and Castle probably know too, the smaller lakes in Arizona, like Woods Canyon Lake up in northeastern Arizona, they typically have an electric motor only policy or an OR
Really?
policy.
Yeah.
So now what happens? Electric motor has always been these small electric trolling motors that run on a single 12-volt battery. This is a motor that can run your boat at 40 miles an hour across a small lake.
Interesting. Yeah.
They might have to put in speed limits then in certain areas. I honestly don't know if that's a thing already, because when I would ride my grandpa's boat, we would ride up and down a river. And so we would go upriver, and then if the boat breaks down, we just glide down the river.
Float back.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I do have a question though. I don't remember how many docks had like gas stations, and I'm using air quotes for boats. You know how like people will rent a space on a dock and then keep their boat there. Would they have a charger or a few chargers for electric boats to do the same thing?
well, they already do.
They do?
So like at Lake Pleasant Harbor, you can if you have like a cruiser boat or something or a sailboat, you can hook electric already up to it. So some people actually live out at Lake Pleasant Harbor in sailboats, and it has electricity hookups. So technically, you already have a charging system infrastructure already out there.
Can you imagine the
there
code
you go.
requirements for electricity on the water? That's got to be a whole new.
It's going to be a whole new thing.
Rules and regulations.
It really will.
Instagram, Flavio Pepe says, "See you in Austria." Well, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, that is, I think, May 24th and 5th on a weekend for those of you interested. And unlike the Tesla takeover here in the U.S., this one in Austria is actually from a number of countries. Scandinavia is going to be there. Sweden's going to be there. Portugal, France. So, yeah, this should be a good one.
Yeah, it's for us in the U.S., it's the weekend before Memorial Day. So
Yeah. TikTok specialist Trip says no wake laws. Yeah, can you imagine water cops with radar guns issuing tickets out on the water? It just doesn't seem feasible.
Oh, it happens. And
It happens.
It happens.
It definitely happens.
And that's probably the easiest way to do it on a smaller lake. Maybe you have a big boat with a big motor, but you just put in a no wake law, and that would do what you need.
So we've got another item here, BYD. All right. It's the Chinese car manufacturer that actually gained the title as the world's largest EV seller end of last year, surpassing Tesla in Q4 of 2023. BYD is an interesting company, started small, most likely subsidized by the Chinese government. And it's the one that Elon seems to be most concerned about because of their ability to use low-cost labor or government subsidies to drive the price way down on EVs. And I think you had mentioned something about them as well.
Oh, yeah. BYD, first, BYD is younger than Tesla. Tesla was founded in 2004. Elon Musk came in as CEO in 2007. The Roadster was put out in 2008. BYD didn't even start until 2011, I believe, is when it is. And it was a Chinese businessman bought a small failing car company and just took it and ran with it.
I can give you the name, Wang Chuanfu. The reason I
Thank
know
you.
that is we are doing a bio on him, and it'll be out within the next couple of weeks, I think. What do you think, Cass? Is that your next one? But anyway, it's Wang Chuanfu. Interesting story. I think you're going to like the bio.
It is. And that one's one I'm looking forward to seeing. BYD is they're perceived as a significant threat in the U.S. automotive market, even though they have not sold directly any cars yet in the United States. BYD is, they're coming out with cars that are inexpensive enough that the current tariff on automotive vehicles might not be high enough to make up the price difference. BYD might come to the U.S. directly from China and still be cheaper than U.S.-made cars. BYD is also looking to do an end around. They're actively in the negotiations with the Mexican government to put together a factory site where they could build cars that they would then export as Mexican-made cars to the United States, thereby bypassing all of the tariff requirements for Chinese-made goods.
And then, of course, the advantage there is they would find the sweet spot. How much manufacturing can they do in China without violating or crossing over into tariff territory? Then do the finished manufacturing in Mexico and take advantage of the tariff-free introduction of product into the U.S.
Exactly, and then they take advantage not only of lower labor rates in China, but also lower labor rates in Mexico.
Yeah.
And they probably won't care very much about any kind of U.S. incentive for U.S.-made products because their products will be more than $7,500 less than the U.S. equivalents.
Right. Fascinating concept. So it looks like one to keep an eye on. And the reason that I brought them up is they've unveiled the Yang Wang U9, which is a $230,000 high-performance, fully electric supercar, and it's positioned against luxury gas-powered Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I've got a picture here, Jesse, if you can bring up picture U9. When I first saw this, we created a Facebook site, like an owner site for this car, summer of last year, I think it was. It looks like a supercar. You see the spoiler in the back, the scoops on the side, and it's definitely the type of car that somebody that would be interested in Corvettes, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens might be interested in.
It definitely is, and yet my take on this is it really a supercar?
You mentioned that.
Why don't you tell us what the specs are on this car, and then I'll come back with different specs for other comparables.
All right. What they say is initially targeted exclusively for the Chinese market, the vehicle goes from 0 to 60 in 2.36 seconds. I mean, I think your Corolla can do that these days, right?
Well, that's what it feels like. So here are three comparable electric vehicles for their I'm going to call it 0 to 60 time. These guys are doing a 0 to 60. It's technically at 0 to 62, 0 to 100 kilometers. But I don't think the times would be noticeably different. Model S Plaid, 1.99 seconds.
Right.
That's your four-door sedan grocery getter from Tesla. The Lucid Air Sapphire, another four-door grocery getter, although expensive on the high end, 1.89 seconds.
Right.
Now, if you want to go into real supercar territory, then we're probably talking the Rimac Nevera. That's an EV supercar, and they are a 0 to 100 kilometer per hour, or 0 to 62 in 1.74 seconds.
Amazing. Yeah.
So this one's not as fast as those.
And then top speed. This one tops out at 192 miles per hour. Some of those that you mentioned are 200 mile per hour plus cars.
In fact, every one of them are. The Model S is 200, the Lucid's 205, the Rimac is 256.
Right. Maybe the marketing department at BYD said, who's really going to go near 200 miles an hour anyway?
Yeah.
So is it that important? But anyway, they are introducing this latest vehicle, unveiling it at a price tag of $233,000. It is going to get 280 miles range on a single charge. And unfortunately for now, the Yang Wang U9 is slated to be sold exclusively in China.
It's the look of this car is slick. It's definitely more of your supercar type of look. I happen to believe that they're trying to choose their competition. It's a business concept I've heard of. You don't necessarily let the marketplace define who your competition is. You choose your competition and compete against them. They're competing against Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, and other higher cost ICE vehicles. When if they were to compete against the EV space, you'd find that they're actually a little bit lacking. Overall, though, it's a beautiful car, and
Right.
we talk about heat. What's the difference between 110 and 115 degrees?
Negligible. Yeah.
It's
You
hot.
don't notice it. Yeah,
You don't notice it.
miserable at 110 and 115 or
Yeah.
120.
So what's the difference between 2.3 seconds and 1.99 seconds?
Well, there's one additional feature that they have in this car, and this one fits into the category of who asked for this.
Yes.
This car has a special suspension system which enables it to drive on 3 wheels, jump, or even dance.
Yes. And we gave Jesse a heads up.
A challenge,
Hopefully he
yeah.
was able to find the video of it. There is a video that came out recently on this car showing it dancing.
Amazing. I could see this perhaps at a South Phoenix car show where you've got a bunch of early Chevys
Yep.
that have been chopped, that have had hydraulics installed, and they're bouncing in the street and dancing. There we go. Yep.
Yes. This
So-
is dancing.
Maybe this is a thing in China. I don't know. It certainly
know.
would be in Mexico and South Phoenix. Look at that. It is
Dance
jumping.
and dance and turn and yes,
Sorry.
Cass.
That reminds me of like the old muscle cars with the hydraulics that would go like up, down, and like side to side.
Yeah.
Now Jesse, I'll have to tell us. I saw a different video from this one, and the car would actually hop. It
Really?
They
And-
actually, yeah.
Now, I'd love to see it drive on 3 wheels. That would be interesting. What does one wheel recess? And then it... but anyway, there you have it. Maybe that's why it costs $233,000. At least 100 of that is in its ability to dance, hop, jump, and run on 3 wheels.
Very possible. Cyber Beast also says, and this is much more practical. When your car can move like that, he says these movements help cornering at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
See if I can find the other one.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Cyber Beast also says on TikTok, it's not the 0 to 60. It's all about the aerodynamics. The downforce brakes in corners, Tesla brakes fade.
Yeah.
Cyber Beast, you are exactly correct. It's when we can talk raw speed, 0 to 60. We can talk track times on the quarter mile. We can talk top speeds, but we didn't talk very much about cornering and performance, and there are going to be a lot of differences between this car and your Lucid or your Tesla.
TikTok. Jumanji says he sent us 10 roses as a gift. Thank you for the gift. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And then PYGKLB on YouTube says, first let's get to double digits. One of our other contributors, Crunch to Grace Hopper, would like to say, smash that thumb, y'all. This is the video that I was talking about.
Oh, there we go. Like the color, too.
Yep. Nice color, great hop. And that... it's an exciting car. I have to admit, it's definitely an exciting car. Hopefully at some point we'll get to see that here in the States as well.
The interesting thing is this car actually was released before Tesla's second generation Roadster.
Yes, it was.
So there's another first, compared to Tesla anyway.
Yep, it sure was. BYD has taken a very different approach from most of the U.S. EV automakers. Where most of the U.S. EV automakers, and you think of Rivian, you think of Lucid, you think of Tesla for that matter, they started out with a high-end luxury vehicle that had a very small addressable market. But these cars probably had pretty high profit margins per car, or the chance to get that. And then they moved from there, or are moving from there, more into mainstream cars. BYD did not take that approach. Their first cars were their mainstream, lower cost cars that were available to a huge market of people, and they managed to overcome those early production headaches where they couldn't produce cars. They figured that out while mass producing the lower cost cars. Now they're going to the really high end luxury car. Kind of a backwards.
Yeah, interesting twist in the concept.
And hold on one sec, we're getting a little bit of audio feedback here.
Okay, I think we're better.
I think we're better. Okay, and then one thing too, Pete, just on BYD, I'm doing some research over here on the who owns it and who's subsidizing it. Like you're saying, possibly the Chinese government. Excuse me. Is actually the vast majority of this is owned by Berkshire.
Yeah, that's true.
40% of it is owned by Berkshire. Then you have 8.9% is BlackRock. Then 17% is individual people. So the next one would be 17% as a person is the CEO, Xuan Fu. So I don't see any ownership coming from the actual government itself. It looks like this is Warren Buffett swooped in and bought it all in 2008 during the financial crisis, basically, is what happened.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Deep pockets. That reminds me of another EV maker that people are down on.
Yes.
That has deep pockets behind them.
And the phrase actually coined was they have a sugar daddy. Do you remember that?
I do. I sure do. We're talking about you, Lucid.
That's right. Well, it takes a benefactor like that sometimes to make it through the rough spots.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you notice Rivian stock got hammered after that earnings announcement? And following the basic principles of investing, you buy the dips.
Yeah. Well,
I had no idea the depth of the dip. I mean, it was a 37% dip by the time it got done.
Yeah, I'm developing my own take on this. I'll spill one piece of it. It's the opposite of irrational exuberance. It's irrational depression.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
For Lucid, they just got to sell cars. Okay, that's what it comes down to. For Rivian, they might need somebody to come in with deeper pockets. Their cash burn is definitely a concern. I still think both of these car makers are gonna find a way to make it work because they're the two that have really found a way so far.
And you have a video that's coming out, I take it.
Yes, and I'm going to have kind of a rant video on both of these and what's happened financially with them over the last couple of weeks.
So stay tuned, folks. It's on our Gruber Motors YouTube channel, and it'll be Mark's expertise weighing in on the financial ramifications of what's going on with Lucid and with Rivian. Rivian, by the way, March 7th is releasing they're announcing their R2 vehicle.
Yeah, they'll start taking reservations.
Which is mysterious, but what are the parameters around that since you did a bit of research?
The R2 is a smaller SUV, is the first one that they're going to put out. They found that the R1S SUV has been more popular than the R1T pickup truck. So they're going to still sell the SUV first. They're going to take deposits of $100 to make a reservation for the R2. The R2 is due to be released around the end of 2025 or early 2026. And they're expecting, right now, the street is expecting that the price range will be somewhere between the high 40s and mid 50s. So somewhere in the high 40,000 to mid 50,000 range for this vehicle, which would put it very squarely in the range of comparable crossover SUVs that are ICE vehicles and below most of the other electric vehicle makers.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. We're looking forward to that video, soon to be released. TikTok. Jumanji also says, Cybertruck dual motor has lockers front and rear that haven't been enabled yet, software locked. Tri-motor only has front locker as the rear has two independent motors. That's an interesting update. Okay.
I didn't know that. Thank you for that update. And then YouTube says, Randolph Schnack, can't wait for that interview.
Wang Chengfu. By the way, he's called a chairman, I believe. rather than CEO of
I
BYD.
yeah, I think so.
All right, getting on to Cybertruck then. That was part of what we had promised. The headline on this one is another critical flaw with their futuristic rides. What do you think of that, Mark?
I don't think it's a flaw really, but it's good clickbait, and it's a legitimate issue that hasn't been well communicated to the community.
And the way the article describes it is many Cybertruck owners are finding that their shiny new trucks are losing their shine and starting to show signs of rust and corrosion. And then on a thread in February 1st, someone that owns one complained to Cybertruck brethren that the metal on their new truck started forming small flecks of rust after 2 days of rain shortly after delivery. He said, I picked up my truck in Dublin, California yesterday. It was pouring rain. Drove it up to Sacramento, and there's a bunch of tiny orange specks and a few water spots, he wrote. The orange dots aren't huge, they're very tiny, but they're apparent. Sure, I haven't washed the car yet, but it's only been 2 days in the rain.
Sure.
So they're attributing this to visual signs of corrosion. And apparently Elon, in the presentation November 30th, said that the truck was made from a special, ultra-strong Tesla-designed steel alloy made to make the Cybertruck tough. Remember, they're shooting bullets at this thing, and it was actually resisting those, so it's got to be tough, you know?
That's right.
He did say that this metal did not exist before. We needed something that we could actually manufacture that would have basically no corrosion, didn't need paint, but you could still make it in volume. Despite this, they say the user's manual warns owners that the stainless steel body of the Cybertruck can, in fact, develop corrosion under specific conditions. And then they have a fix.
Yes. You know, it said that owners are getting creative with being able to use Barkeeper's Friend. And it's a type of cleaning solution for, you know, it's been used in the restaurant industry, but the Barkeeper's Friend is becoming known as a good general cleaning solution for things like automobiles.
Okay. Like the early DeLoreans, is there any recommendation for using Scotch-Brite pads or anything abrasive to restore some of that luster?
Actually, there is. You know, and I've gone through some of the forums and some other articles, and some of the best comments that I've seen in general have come from people who currently or have in the past owned DeLoreans. The DeLorean, of course, was made with stainless steel, very much like the Cybertruck. And the chief topic or the chief rebuttal is stainless steel does not mean zero maintenance. It just means different maintenance. And typically they say that Barkeeper's Friend is one of the best cleaners. Windex is a good cleaner as well. Whether you use a Scotch-Brite pad or just a terry cloth towel or something that you can, you know, get a good rub on, they say that you do that and it will restore and protect the finish of the vehicle. Brian Hood on Rob Report had a particularly good article that was just published yesterday. And he said that many people, all the way up to Cybertruck's head engineer, his name is Wes Morrell, have come forward to provide a defense of the Cybertruck. Bearded Tesla guy, I want to give a shout out to him. He's been on our podcast in the past. Came out with a really good YouTube video about things that you can do to help preserve the look of your Cybertruck.
I watched some of that video. That was a good video. I think in that he says that the Windex didn't actually work for him as well, but he liked that Barkeeper's Friend one a lot, I think.
Yeah, that was the Barkeeper's Friend seems to be the most popular one. So, you know, we need to probably talk to the people at Barkeeper's Friend about having an ad sometime soon on the podcast.
A couple images here. These are not realistic. These are just more humorous, but I found this on Reddit.
All right.
There you go. I see that particular image.
That one's a little extreme. Then I asked ChatGPT to make one, but it doesn't know what the Cybertruck actually is.
Yeah, it has.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's got Tesla on the side. You know, there's a guy that's chiming in about this. He says, I know I'm kind of a weirdo, but I kind of like the corrosion and hopefully the associated patina that will become with it.
Yeah, I like that comment too. That, you know, you're going to have some people that do want exactly that. The consensus that seems to be out there on the forums for the people that are defending Cybertruck is that the Cybertruck has been made in an area where there's going to be metal dust. It's being, you know, that auto manufacturing facility is not a dust-free facility, and due to the welding, due to the air circulation stuff going on in there, a lot of the dust that gets on the Cybertruck is actually metal dust, whether it's from the trains or multimodal transportation, whether it's in factory, and that metal dust itself will rust. If you own a stainless steel kitchen sink, just put a piece of metal, like a metal knife that isn't a stainless knife, run some water on it, let it set for a couple hours, and you pull that knife up, you'll have a piece of
Stain.
rust, a rust stain on your stainless steel sink that you're going to have to try to get off. And this is the same type of thing.
Well, Tesla actually does offer something. It calls it the Cybertruck Color Paint Film, and it's an option for the new Cybertrucks. According to them, this is a self-healing urethane-based film. Sounds like PPF to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, which is available in black or white and thicker than the average vinyl color orange wrap that can be applied to Cybertrucks for a measly price of $6,000, including installation.
Sounds about like a PPF. That's about the price of a PPF install as well.
Instagram, Max Nahitith 27 says hi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
YouTube, Nolver53 is here. Good morning, all. I just got off work. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Nolver, for joining us.
Thank you, Nolver.
YouTube, Doombachari says, what do you folks think about Stellantis?
I hope that Stellantis still puts out electric vehicles. They've kind of gone along with Ford and Chevrolet about putting some of the EV plans on hold, or at least on pause. And overall, Stellantis, we know them here in the States. Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram brands are the main Stellantis brands. Good cars.
Yeah. And because of a buying frenzy, they've accumulated so many different types of car manufacturers these days. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. The Dodge product, for example, where they actually replicate exhaust tones electronically. I have never been close enough to one to actually hear it. All I've seen was the videos. But, being a muscle car guy, I'll be able to tell whether that's realistic or not.
I'm looking at their website right now,
Yeah.
and they have a page for their strategic plan, and they're hoping to go carbon net zero by 2038.
Okay. All right. Worthwhile goal.
And that's a little bit of a change from the last I heard from them, because they were trying to go carbon zero by as early as 2030. So it sounds like they've pushed that back by a few years as well.
Yeah, on March 2022, they said that they were going to try and do 2030, but they've pushed it back to 2038.
Okay.
And
Thank
then,
you,
of course,
Cass.
we have government mandates too that may result in violations of that new deadline. Yeah. Facebook, Mandel Guima Nati says, my question is the Cybertruck made of titanium or stainless steel? It would be stainless steel. Titanium would be prohibitively expensive for something this large.
Yeah, and it's a stainless steel derivative. Would that be a good way to call it? Or maybe an alloy variation.
Yeah.
It's not what we think of as traditional stainless steel. It has been strengthened. And Tesla will not disclose exactly how they made that particular alloy, so it's not quite the stainless steel that we take home.
Making it bulletproof, of course. YouTube, Frank says, have you mentioned the new Scout/VW collaboration in the U.S.? We have not. I didn't know anything about that.
I know a little bit about that, but not a lot. That's true, though. VW is collaborating with Scout. and they're putting the whole idea is that they're going to put something out in the electric vehicle space that is very similar to the traditional International Harvester Scout vehicle that was in the 60s and 70s. You remember those?
Oh, very much so. Ugly design, but very utilitarian
Yes.
and useful. Yeah.
Yeah, utilitarian, useful, and has a huge cult following almost.
Yeah.
It's estimated to start in 2026 for production with them.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, they do own the Scout brand name, so and that'll be fun to see.
Yeah. To revive something like that. Well, it looks like Tesla has built several charging posts in a parking lot at Gigafactory Berlin Brandenburg, and the company says they are free and open to the public. That's what amazed me. There's a picture that I didn't post, so never mind. I was going to show you a huge parking lot with 500 cars or whatever, but they say there are 500 chargers completely free to employees and visitors and guests. It seems to me that people in the neighborhood then would be able to get free supercharging or charging at least.
Free charging.
Yeah.
It's to me this becomes now the world's largest charging complex. We can't quite call it the world's largest supercharger because they're not truly supercharger speeds.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point, these are a little bit more robust than your typical home charger as well.
Mm-hmm. They also feature some version 4 supercharger stations at this location, but I don't believe those are free. It doesn't say anything about that. This is opened in November, by the way. They do also say in this article that last week, Grünheide community voted against expansion to Tesla's Automotive factory, with 3,400 residents voting against the plans to increase the plant by 170 hectares. The residents expressed that the necessary deforestation for the project, comprising of about 100 hectares, would negatively affect the local environment. Now, we've gone through this before, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Major delays, environmentalists put the kibosh, and hey, you've got some trees here. Let's replant the trees. And oftentimes, the people that are, involved in this kind of construction are more than willing to fund a reforestation, even larger than what was deforested.
Sure.
But, again, my message to the Germans is, folks, we've got to get rid of the fossil fuel burners. We have to get rid of all this carbon that's being spewed into the atmosphere, all the pollution it creates. And let's let them plant some trees somewhere else and continue to expand this operation in Berlin.
Absolutely. Maybe we take, maybe Tesla takes that. That's a one. Thank you, Jesse, for getting that picture of the parking lot. Maybe they take and build parking structures in place of open parking lots, and then they expand the footprint that way of the actual of the factory itself.
And Tesla's notorious for this anyway. What about putting a bunch of covered parking in here now and putting solar panels up on top?
Yeah.
And, generating part of that energy that's being consumed to charge these cars. Again, it looks like I need to do another German video that encourages them to put some of this environmental concern aside and look at the bigger picture and allow a company like this that is feeding the European economy to expand and do more of these kind of planet-saving initiatives.
Right, definitely. Randolph Schnack on YouTube says, if you don't do anything for the finish on the Cybertruck, will it affect how long the surface lasts, or will it just affect how it looks?
We don't know that, and that would be cool. Sometimes the manufacturers do destructive testing like this as part of their validation prototype testing, right? And they could have, for example, for a year or two, put sprinklers on top of the Cybertruck continuously outside somewhere to see how it ages.
Yes.
But I'm unaware of any kind of testing like this that has taken place. And the other thing that I would guess is maybe they were unaware that this was going to be an issue. It seems that
I'm going to be along the lines of the unaware, because I can't imagine that Tesla would have been aware of it and would have simply not communicated it.
Yeah.
That would be just too much of a black eye. Considering the type of stainless steel it is and how durable they're trying to make it, My hope is that it's going to be just how it looks,
Yeah.
and that it won't be real true corrosion and, rust corrosion.
Right, or deterioration of the surface. But, somebody here has a good idea. YouTube, PYG KLB says, yes, a rust-colored wrap would be humorous. Wouldn't that be a viral
Now,
video?
that would be great.
Yeah. Look what happened to my Cybertruck after 2 weeks. That would wake up the world.
Oh, yes.
YouTube Nolver53 says, not related to today's topic, but he says people talk a lot about solar and wind-generated power. I'm curious, do you think nuclear-generated energy will have a role in the efforts towards sustainable energy?
Yes.
Okay, that was quick. And of course, the word fusion gets inserted in there somewhere, right?
Fusion is the future.
Yeah, I'm with Jesse on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yes. Even with the fission, with all of its problems, nuclear energy is so clean compared to so many other forms of energy.
Coal-fired plants, yes.
Coal-fired plants, natural gas-fired plants, even the current fission energy plants are better than those. The risk of danger is catastrophic. Fusion has all of the benefits without any of the downsides that we can see so far.
I picture taking a little glob away from the sun and bringing that kind of fusion energy here to the planet somewhere. Can you imagine how much that would power this planet?
It certainly seems like the Spider-Man movie with Doc Ock is coming to fruition.
Yeah.
At one point, it would, the power of the sun held in your hands.
Facebook, Mandel Guima T says, wow, I wish we have this in Ghana, but we have to afford Tesla here first. I will start marketing Tesla. Don't worry, Elon. Just give me the go-ahead, LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more. Actually, Elon isn't African-American.
That's right.
I saw a post the other day that
right.
let's honor our African Americans, and Elon was in the group, and I thought, wait, what's this, right?
Yeah, he's from South Africa.
Exactly,
That's right.
Yes. So an inspiration for you, possibly, but yeah, Elon is definitely one of the change makers that could accomplish something like this if he focused back on where he came from.
I know we're getting close on time. Are you going to get to this particular article?
Yeah, we probably should. Jesse, if you can pop up an image called Passing Fad. And this is from Electric. I found this humorous.
I can't get over it. It's so funny.
And the heading there from Fred Lambert at Electric is this, but now it's EVs. And I remember for a very brief period of time, this sort of a mentality was starting to gain some momentum,
It was, at this point, this was published in 2000 by the Daily Mail. And it is just a commentary. The author was saying, people are giving up the internet in droves. They're finding that it's just not worth it to pay money for email, and email is doing nothing but making their lives busier and more cluttered.
Yeah.
There's definitely truth to that. But there's no benefit and there's only costs, and so internet's probably just going to go away. Yeah, that's not.
I can't wait till they say this about AI. I was watching Sam Altman the other day, and he was talking about cost reductions with AI. We're all anticipating, we're getting comfortable with it. We're beginning to integrate it into our lives, and the subscriptions are going to come fairly soon where you're going to have to pay a lot for, AI.
Oh, sure.
But he says just the opposite. Because of the gains that they're making in the efficiencies and technology, the costs will come down, and he actually foresees a point in time when AI accessibility is free.
I could see that as more likely than the prices going up.
Yeah.
And I think with electric vehicles, we've talked about the inverted S curve on a number of occasions, where you have quick early adoption, you have a leveling out of demand, not necessarily a decrease, just a leveling out, sometimes even goes flat. And then your demand takes off like a rocket again. And I think we're in that flat spot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know when, but something is going to come out in the next couple of years that will change the picture of what people think of on EVs. Maybe it will be the hybrids that are just going crazy right now in terms of popularity in the United States. And people get used to the idea that, wow, maybe it's a little easier if I simply charge my car all the time and don't have to go to the gas station. Why am I running this gasoline engine all the time?
Right.
Okay, guys, we got to wrap it up.
So we're wrapping. Remember that in 5 minutes, we're going to go live again for the Tesla Roadster podcast, which is a weekly podcast done at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Today's an interesting topic where you get to talk about the 3 barn find Chinese Roadsters again. And make sure to join us. We'll be live here in just about 4 or 5 minutes or so.